ensemble and the band when you stand. So when you decide you have enough, right? When you've been bent and you've been, what's the word? You get mad, you get strong. You get kind of in the ringer, right? Anybody been in the ringer recently? This morning? Okay, a few of us this morning, that's all. Most of us this week, right? And then you stand, right? You make a choice. You just make a choice. But what is that choice that you make? Because the choice is yours. So the first choice comes from this. It's a little story I found. I edited it some, but here it is. He placed one scoop of clay upon the other until a form lay lifeless on the ground. All of the garden's inhabitants paused to witness the event. Hawks hovered, giraffes stretched, trees bowed, butterflies paused on petals and watched. And God said, "Nature, you will love me because I made you that way. You will obey me, universe, for you were designed to do so. You will reflect my glory, skies, for that is how you were created. But this one will be like me. This one will be able to choose." All were silent as the Creator reached into himself and removed something yet unseen. A seed. It's called choice, the seed of choice. Creation stood in silence and gazed upon the lifeless form. And an angel spoke. But what if he chooses not to love? The Creator finished. Come, I will show you. Unbound by today, God and the angel walked into the realm of tomorrow. There, see the fruit of the seed of choice, both the sweet and the bitter. And the angel gasped at what she saw. Spontaneous love, voluntary devotion, chosen tenderness. Never had she seen anything like these. She felt the love of the Adams and heard the joy of Eve and her daughters. She saw the food and the burdens shared. She absorbed the kindness and marveled at the warmth. Heaven has never seen such a beauty, my Lord. Truly, this is your greatest creation. Ah, but you've seen the sweet. Now witness the bitter. A stench enveloped the pair. The angel turned in horror and complained, "What is it?" And the Creator spoke only one word: selfishness. The angel stood speechless as they passed through centuries of repugnance. Never had they seen such filth. Rotten hearts, ruptured promises, forgotten loyalties, children of creation wandering blindly in lonely labyrinths. This is the result of choice, the angel said. Yes. They will forget you, perhaps. They will reject you, perhaps. They will never come back. Well, some will, most won't. God's form bent over the sculptured face and breathed. Dust stirred on the lips of the new one. The chest rose, cracking the red mud. The cheeks flushened, a finger moved, and an eye opened. But more incredible than the moving of the flesh was the stirring of the Spirit. Those who could see the unseen gasped. Perhaps it was what the wind said first. Perhaps what the star saw. That moment is what made it blink forevermore. Maybe it was left to an angel to whisper it. It looks like, it appears like it is him. The angel wasn't speaking of the face, the features, or the body. She was looking inside at the soul. It's eternal. Gasped another. Within the man, within the woman, God had placed the divine seed, the seed of himself, a seed of choice. The God of might had created earth's mightiest, and the one who had been chosen to love had created one who could love in return. We have been given the seed of choice. The choice is ours. And the moment of choice is now. Now, the thing about choice is you don't know you have a choice until you know you have a choice. Right? So when you don't know you have a choice and you just move blindly, you don't know any better. But right now, as of this moment at 11 o'clock on Sunday, November 2nd, 2014, you now know you have a choice. Yes? Yes. What that choice is up to you. But you have a choice. And so as we work in our fall program, The Seed of the Soul, and this book is marvelous. I'm hoping that you're really enjoying it. The choice comes to be the choice, basically, loosely, got 4 chapters in 20 minutes, you can't really do it, but the choice, loosely, is to choose between your personality, the wants, desires of your personalities, or the unfoldment of your soul. Because when we tap into our soul, when we discover that seed of choice, when we discover that divinity within us, when we start to wake up, and based on my experience, waking up doesn't really ever end. You can go back to sleep, but waking up, we never get totally awake because there's always the next layer and the next more. So if you think you're awake, it's time to wake up. I've got to experience a lot of that this month. But the choice becomes the vehicle of our evolution. Our evolution, based in this book, is our evolution from an outer power, external power, to the journey to then authentic power, the journey to the soul. The seat of the soul, that place where you discover that you are divine, where you discover that you have a choice, that you discover that you are worthy and whole and complete just the way you are, no matter what your life looks like. Many of us in Unity have been on a healing journey. Physically, emotionally, mentally, our whole life has been about healing. But what if there's nothing that had to heal? What if, instead of trying to get rid of or trying to get something or trying to be different, what if it was simply about acknowledging that we are already divine? What if it's a journey instead of accepting? Well, I can accept that and that and that and that, but never that. Right? But what if it's about just simply accepting, and then from acceptance moving into allowing, from allowing moving into I'm already one. There's nothing I have to do or be. I don't have to get better. I don't have to change in order to be worthy, in order to be one with God, because we already are. We already are. We're already one with God. We're already divine. Now, does that mean some of our behavior could probably still use some cleaning up? Yeah, most of us. But that's okay. It's no longer then about judgment. It's about accepting. It's about allowing. It's about coming into an awareness of exactly where we are in this moment and then making a choice. We're being asked to cultivate and nourish the needs of our soul, which is about evolution, which is about waking up, which is about coming into the realization that we're already divine, and to challenge and release the wants of our personality. That's where the rub is. Our basic unity text, one of them, Lessons in Truth, I see Beverly's carrying that book around with her right now today, talks about individuality and personality. Individuality is Emily Katie's word for what Gary Zukav calls the soul. It's that place where we're already divine. And in this place of knowing that we're already divine. We talk about it in a lot of different language. We talk about it when we go into our meditation. We land into that field. We land into that divinity. We land into that place where we are one. We call it our essence, our essential self, our divinity, our Christ nature, whatever language works for you. We land there and we go, ah, that feels good. Together. Ah, that feels good. Like in the meditation, like in the song. I am so blessed. I can't tell you how many times I have had that thought this month. In the midst of my biggest challenge in my lifetime. I am so blessed. It brings tears to my eyes. It opens my heart. And it's in those moments that I have chosen my soul. And then the very next moment, it's like, oh, but I can't, blah, 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 if only and right? I'm sure I'm the only one in this room that has those moments. And I'll just tell you, I have had a lot of those moments. But that's what we're finding is the personality. There's nothing wrong with our personality, because, so I'm not saying that. But what we're looking for ultimately is that our head comes to support our heart. Our personality comes to support our divinity. Our personality then supports the divine in us. So I was thinking as I was reading this chapter about Paul, and Paul says in the book of Romans, he says, I do not understand my own actions, for I do not do what I want, but I do the very thing I hate. Now, if I do what I do not want, I agree that the law is good. But in fact, it is no longer I that do it, but sin that dwells within me. I'm going to read sin. We'll translate it in a moment. For I know that nothing good dwells within me, that is, in my flesh. I can will what is right, but I cannot do it. Did you ever have that? Working on forgiveness, or working on, the 21 days of no negative thoughts, or, any of the tools that we do, right? So I find it to be a law that when I want to do what is good, evil lies close at hand. For I delight in the law of God in my innermost self, but I see in my members, my personality, another law at war with the law of mind, making me captive to the law of sin that dwells in my members. Wretched man that I am, who will rescue me from this body of death? Thanks be to God through Jesus Christ our Lord. So let's do some metaphysical interpretation here. Rome, Paul traveled and he wrote letters to different countries, cities. Rome is representative metaphysically of our head. Paul is will. Paul is the spiritual state of mind. Paul is overcoming. If you think back, Paul was initially Saul, and he was a Pharisee, and he was out to, anyway, that's a long story about Paul. It's about overcoming. It's about the spiritual state of mind, which is really about the spiritual state of heart. So Paul's writing to Rome. He's writing to our heads. And he's saying, when I know what to do and I don't do it, what is going on? When I do what I don't want to do, what is going on? Anybody ever have that experience? Okay, a couple of us, good. So in the beginning of the book in Romans, he paints this grand picture of God's grace and his forgiveness. And Paul, through the book of Romans, is really trying to be a good person. He's really trying to keep the laws of God. Now, we can interpret that, but he's trying really, really hard with everything in his own strength. And he is ultimately defeated because it is not our own strength. It is not our personality. It is not our ego that will lead us to spirit. So he uses the word sin. We interpret sin. We know sin is an acronym that's called self-induced nonsense. Whole nother talk. We're going to leave it right there. But when even though his intentions are good, but he was attempting to win that battle over sin by his own plan, his own ability. So he says at the end that wretched am I, but it's not like we're going to beat up on ourselves. We're all done with that. It's just what is going to save us. So Paul says it's Christ Jesus. So in unity, we interpret that to be the divinity within each and every one of us. Jesus was the man who lived on the planet some 2,000 years ago who fully realized his Christ potential. In unity and in new thought, we know that Jesus is not the one. He was the first or one of. But what Jesus said to us is all things that I do, you can do more of. He said, follow me. He didn't say, put me up on a cross and worship me. He said, get down in the world and go and do the things that I have done. Go and awaken to the truth that God is love and that you are divine and we live on this planet and the planet is a mess. Well, 2,000 years ago was, I don't know about today. What do you think? It still looks like a mess to me some days. But it's about making that choice. Do you choose the wants of your personality, or do you choose the needs of the soul? Okay, for example, I want, what do I want? Oh, comfort food. Oh my goodness, I want a Krispy Kreme donut. Or Dunkin' Donuts. Do you have Dunkin' Donuts? Do we have Dunkin' Donuts in Texas? Dunkin' Donuts chocolate cake with chocolate frosting. Oh, I want a donut so much. I really, really, really want a donut. I can have a donut. I've had a donut. My parents were in town this week. They like to have donuts. I had a donut with my parents. It was great. But if my intention is health and physically cleansing my body and getting my body back to 100% or 200% and moving beyond, what is my greater intention? Comfort food? Sometimes. Greater health. I'm not judging donuts. I'm really not. I'm really not. But use this for whatever works in your life. You know, is my greater intention comfort? In some moments, yes, and that is 100% okay. Or is my greater intention something that's going to transcend that? So you get to choose. You get to choose in every single moment. And the only thing that lies between you and your divinity is yourself. It's just the place where we place our choices, because most of our choices are unconscious. If you think about it as you go through your day, most of your choices are unconscious. Most of what we do in our lives is unconscious. So it's a call to consciousness. It's a call to waking up. It's a call to determining, to discovering what's already in your heart and soul. It's a call to choose again. If your decision is to become whole, hold that decision. Hold it. You stand between your lesser self and your whole self. Authentic empowerment brings to us humbleness, forgiveness, clarity, love, compassion, and our deepest struggles. Our deepest struggles will bring the highest level of evolution. And we're not in this alone. We're not supposed to do this life alone. We're supposed to be in partnership. He talks about spiritual partnership. It's coming together for the greater evolution. It's coming together in your marriages, in your relationships, in your workplaces, in your churches. It's coming together. What if we came together and redefined our relationship, that our relationship became about, I'm not talking about me and you, I'm talking about all of us. Our relationship became about moving into authentic power. Our relationship became about bringing that presence and power that is God into a greater awareness, into a palpable awareness on this planet. Then everything changes. Our choices change. Our conversations change. Our actions change. But it's, in this week, about coming into awareness of how you can make your choices, what the choices are. We can choose between personality and soul. We can choose between the higher road or the lower road. When we choose the higher road, we're moving into the Christ awareness. We're moving into our divinity. And it's not really like we have to move into it because it's already here. But what's happening is we're training our personality, our ego, our mind. We're training our minds to go to God first. You've heard it ever since you've ever come into this building. If it's your first day, that might be the first day you hear it. God is, we are, and all is well. All is well. No matter what you're standing in, no matter what you're facing, every challenge that we have becomes an opportunity to come to know God at a deeper level of our being. Every situation we find ourselves in can become an opportunity for growth and awareness. If we discover, if we choose that our purpose on this planet is soul growth, awakening, evolution, and coming to know God, 100% total union with God, instead of, the nicer, whatever, the stuff, the material world. And there's nothing wrong with the material world. It's just a shift. It's just a shift of where you put your awareness. And so the truth is that you can have absolutely everything you want. The truth is, we can awaken right now today in the year 2014. I almost said 13. I almost lost a year. 2014, we can awaken. We can awaken this planet. It's happening. It's happening in unity churches. It's happening in New Thought churches. It's happening in churches. It's happening in groups. It's happening across this planet. We are waking up to the truth of who we are and who we're here to be, and we do it through our heart. We do it through our heart. We shift from our head to our heart. That 18-inch journey, the longest journey you'll ever make, and you don't get to make it only once. You get to make it every moment of every day. Every time you think about it, come into your heart. Come into your heart. It's in the heart that God planted that seed of choice. It's through our heart that we can choose love and compassion and forgiveness. It's in that heart that we can choose to stand, to take the high road, to open ourselves to a greater love than you've ever even begun to fathom. The love that is available to us right here. It's right here. We just have to open our eyes and open our heart. The love that Spirit has for us is palpable. It will make you weep. It will put you on your knees when you realize how loved you are. How perfect you are right here, no matter what your life looks like. No matter what you're standing in. When you can open yourself and just begin to glimpse that love, your life will change. And when your life changes, the world changes. We are called on this journey of awakening. We are called to authentic power, which comes from knowing that love. We are called, and I want to know if you're up for it. It's the hardest journey you've ever taken. It's not easy, it's not even pretty, and it's certainly quite messy. But it's why you're on the planet. We will all evolve someday. Why not now? Why not now? Let's do it. You want to? We do it with me? Okay, will you do it with me? Yes. Let's awaken to the love that we are. Let's open ourselves to know that there's absolutely nothing we have to do except awaken, that we can have it all, that we can have it all. When we put God first, when we choose our soul, and when that happens, oh my goodness, what a feeling that is. God bless you. Amen.
Thank you for that, Aliza.